Which state are you based as well? Which part of the world?
I am in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
We are both based in Washington, D.C. So, yeah.
How frequently do you see each other?
I just met you. We just met. VOA is such a big building, has so many people that if you're not on the same floor, you might never meet certain people.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay, so I think we have some people joining us already. Many thanks everyone for joining us today, and thank you for being part of allowing us to be part of your day, whichever part of the world you are joining us from. We are always excited to be able to for you to be able to be part of our conversation every day. And if this is the first time you are joining us on this webinar, I say thank you very much. And if you've also been with us before, I think you have an idea of how we structure our sessions. So by introduction, my name is Paul Adepoju, and I'm the community manager for the International Center for Journalists, Pamela Howard Forum on Global Crisis Reporting. And this initiative started during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we were laser focused on empowering journalists across the world to be able to better cover the COVID pandemic. With several other pandemics and several other crises that also need urgent attention, we've been painstakingly helping journalists to better perform their duties in being able to cover these various crises that deserve, the stories of which deserve to be told. And telling different stories can be various different platforms, and social media has been a really, really effective and potent tool that journalism and the media landscape in general can no longer do without. Individual journalists rely on social media platforms to be able to get their words out, while the audience also rely on social media platforms to be able to track what is happening. And today, but one of the major limitations is knowing how to do this effectively well. If you look at an individual journalist university experience, I'm not sure many of us had social media as a course, and many of the things that we know today were stuff that we actually learned on the job. With experience plan, with social media being with us for lots of years now, we believe that should be a standard way in which to be able to get the best out of it. And many organizations have been able to effectively deploy this tool and have their journalists and experts available to share their experience with us. And that's the forum that we are, that's the discussion that we are going to be having today. And I'm really, really glad to be joined by really, really amazing folks from the Voice of America. I'll start with Zoe, who is a television producer for VOA's English for Africa service, and spearheads engagement initiatives on various social media platforms within the VOA's Africa division as an audience engagement strategist. How are you doing today, Zoe? And thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm fine.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're also joined by Gazelle, who is an experienced multimedia journalist, who is the internet managing editor and digital platforms for VOA. Gazelle has worked in television and print media in El Salvador, and in 2007, he ventured into the United States to join Washington Telemundo, subsequently becoming an integral part of Voice of America's Spanish service, and has played a pioneering role in implementing the one-man band approach that has resulted in the transformation of VOA Spanish television reporters into multimedia journalists. Gazelle, we are appreciative. Thank you also for joining us today. How is the day going?
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm ready to have fun with you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. For all our attendees, I would also like to know much more about you, where you are joining us from. Please go to the chat box and actively engage with us. Go to the chat box, let us know where you are joining us from and your name, and hopefully we would also like to hear from you actively. So if you're on the Zoom platform, please use the chat box on the Zoom platform to let us know your name and where you are joining us from. And quick shout out to everybody that is also watching this live stream on Facebook. We're also glad that you're able to join us today. We want you to be part of the conversation. Use the chat box and the comment box below this video that you're watching right now to actively engage with us. Thank you on the Zoom platform. Thank you very much, Leonard, for joining us from New York City. Raymond, thank you for joining us from the Philippines. And Othello, thank you for joining us from Liberia. And everybody, please don't be shy. We always like to know where you're joining us from. Hopefully, in the course of the conversation, our panelists would also, if they have specific examples of what instances that are locally relevant to your geographical location, they may also want to use that example. Another thing is we also like you to be part of the conversation. If you have personal experience, direct questions, I like hearing your voices. So you can always raise your hand and we'll activate your microphone to be able to also contribute and be part of our conversation today. Please thank you, Gabriel. Gabriel is joining us from Nigeria, Samiaji from Indonesia, Lenny from the US. Azel, thank you for joining us from South Africa. Nana, thank you for joining us from Ghana. Liechtenstein, Gabriela, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Keep it coming. And so that we would have a more robust conversation, I would like to yield the floor to Zoe so that we can start having this extensive discussion with the presentation. Their presentation will lay the ground and put us on the right footstep towards having a really robust direction. Zoe, you can start sharing your screen right now, and so that I can use
Okay. Let me see if I'll manage to do that.
I trust you can do it. You can.
I can edit video. I can produce shows. Okay, I think I shared it. Can you guys see it?
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
Is it possible to have this on full screen? Can you?
I think it is full screen now. I see it as full screen. I am sharing. It does not appear full screen to you?
No, okay, it's okay. The address bar is showing, but it's good enough for us. So let's go. Let's get it.
Yeah. Well, I want to say hello to everybody who is joining us. I'm very excited to be here. And I want to thank the International Center for Journalists for hosting us. I find the mission of the center really important, and equally important the fact that it does do those trainings with journalists from different parts of the world, and also that it provides mentorship. That's something at VOA I try to actively do with younger journalists. So I want to start by telling you a few things about myself and how I found myself at VOA. We were just talking about that actually with Paul. I've been at VOA for a long time. I came here and started working initially for the Greek service. So I had this very Greek life in Washington. I was broadcasting in Greek, writing in Greek. And I remember on the weekend, I was like, okay, we need to invite our American friends because I need to practice my English. This is ridiculous. But anyway, a few decades passed, the Greek service closed, and then I actively pursued to move to the African division. I've been following politics in Africa. I've covered for the Greek service events that pertain to Africa and Darfur, and I was always interested in how we can use journalism as a vehicle to comprehend the world we live in. And also, I'm interested in how art can be used as a vehicle to give people resilience and to create change and bring people together. So the African division is composed of actually a lot of language services, and it had one that's called English to Africa. That is the one I was in. And that brings me to my second slide. Presently, I am the producer of the flagship show of VOA called Straight Talk Africa. The show has been around for a long time, over 20 years. It started with a host called Shaka Sali. In some parts of Africa, he was very well known. And initially, when I first saw the show, I saw the audience of the show. the show had a very active and vocal audience that wanted to engage with the presenter, that kept asking questions on Twitter, on Facebook. Shaka, when are we going to have democracy in our country? How can this be achieved? So I was basically observing the audience, and I'm like, this is an opportunity here. This is an opportunity that we need to take advantage of. And this is Shaka. This is the person that created Straight Talk Africa. He has since retired. As you can see, Shaka was a very snappy dresser, but he loved the audience. So Shaka started the show as a call-in radio show. And it was call-in because he wanted people to talk to him. And indeed, people did talk to him. Among them, there were heads of state. So I started following people on Twitter, and I started managing the Twitter feed. And I started doing what I called tweet chats during the show. And Shaka would always have very important guests that would say things that mattered in different parts of Africa. So what I would do is I would tweet them out. And like that, I started creating a very active conversation on Twitter. We had reached a point where people were watching the show on their TV in Africa, tweeting to me, and at the same time also commenting on Facebook. Because what I did is I managed to stream the show on different platforms. I started streaming it on Facebook, YouTube, and in all those platforms at that time, I was trying to have people that would engage. So if you wrote a comment, people would answer. And that was very successful. It was, it provided organic growth. We didn't have advertising money. So whatever growth we had was really organic growth that just happened over time. And then in 2016, something important happened. Facebook Live was invented. And that Facebook Live was a big game changer. A very big game changer because suddenly everyone could almost do a show. So I saw Facebook Live, I'm like, my God, now we can produce a show really and have engagement at the same time. This is perfect, let's play around with it. Shaka was at the time, Shaka does not like technology. He understands it, it's good for him, but he didn't care about it, but he trusted me. So, and I was like, Shaka, you like talking to people. What if we just, ask them to ask you questions? They can send them on Facebook, they can send them on Twitter, they can send them any way they want. And, we'll do a show where you're answering those questions. So that he liked, because Shaka liked answering questions. And he had this beautiful way of talking about politics in Africa and inspiring people that even though you might be in a very oppressive regime, there is hope and that the young people can bring change. And he would say these in a beautiful way. So Shaka Extra Time was born, a Facebook only show. We did the show for a number of years. It kept, people liked it. People liked it a lot. It had its own audience. People even said, oh, you should call it Shaka's School, because Shaka teaches us about our political history and we learn things from the show. So eventually the show was picked up by TV stations and it was in the, it was aired in on NBS. I don't know if we have anyone from Kampala in Uganda. It was aired on NBS. The big show, Straight Talk Africa, would go first, and then Shaka Extra Time. And really, I never believed that would happen, because when we started the show, we literally started the show by just holding an iPhone, and Shaka was talking. But it was, social media can take you to interesting places. And you go to interesting places by observing the behavior of the audience. The audience can lead you there. So let me go to my next slide. So this is, again, I mean, you'll see this is Shaka during the time we were in studio. I mean, VOA saw that there was engagement. So from using an iPhone to do the show, I managed to persuade them to use a studio. So the show looked nicer. And once I got the show to look nicer, then it was easier to place it on TV stations in different parts of Africa. So these are some of the photos from the studio. The guy on the left is Paul Dijo. Because Shaka was terrible with technology, I put a host, Paul, to actually say, Shaka, this guy sent you this question. What do you think? Because Shaka could never look at his phone and, find the comment. That was too high tech for him. And again, as I said, doing that show was very important because I got to understand an audience and how all these things, and how you almost need to follow the audience, see what it needs, and in some ways try to fulfill that need, generally speaking. So now I think I want to toss back to Hazel, because Hazel is in charge of a very big social media footprint in the Latin American division. I deal, and my specialty is to take hosts and take shows and spread and create audience engagement and create a big social media footprint. Hazel, you have the big job. So why don't you tell us what you do? I think I need to stop sharing. Okay, let me get the technology right. Okay, I stopped sharing.
You got it. You got it. You did a great job. Stop sharing. Let me share my screen now. 1 second. Okay. And let me please know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Fantastic. So we are in a new era. Well, I'm going to introduce myself quickly. I'm Hazel Tobias. I'm from the Spanish division. I work here in Voice of America for the Latin American division, which has two services. One is the Spanish division, and the other one is the Creole service, which broadcasts for Haiti. And I've been here in VOA for more than 10 years. And I remember the day I came because it was just one day before the Barack Obama elections back in 2008. So I'm pretty sure you guys know this guy, Barack Obama, right? So this guy was one of the candidates running for the US presidency. And a day before, I mean, officially, I entered VOA 2 weeks before that, but I was doing some paperwork and making some decisions and moving around. So the very first day I came to the office was a day before, and they showed me my computer, presented me, introduced me with some other people who I'm gonna be working for, and the day of the elections, I came, I was like, what, this is a big day. I'm sure I can, I can see how they do a coverage so important like this one. And my boss looks at me and says, you know what, we need a lot of people out there. We have reporters from the White House and the Capitol Hills and some other areas in Washington and the US. Why don't you go out there and use your cell phone to bring me some pictures and some thoughts, some reactions from the people who's out there. And I was like a little confused. I was like, I was expecting, first of all, I was not expecting to work that day. It was my very first day. So I was like there just to see how they do things. But then suddenly I gotta work, but that's fine, that's okay. But I was like, what do you mean taking my phone and going out there, and for what? I mean, I just, couldn't understand. So he was like, yeah. He was a little pushy, so it was good for him. Go, take your phone and let me see your phone. Yeah, I think that works. So go out there and just, grab some videos, take some pictures and come back and get in front of your phone camera and give me a little presentation for whatever you're gonna bring from outside. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm not gonna say no my first day. So I went up there and it was challenging. And and then I realized after that, you know, what we are able to do using the new technologies, because we are in a new era, and this era is about changes. And it was different than before, because if you remember, when we went from newspapers to radio, and then from radio to television, and then from black and white television to color television, those changes took a while. Like, it was a long period of time to do the change. But then when the change was actually happening, then stayed it that way for a long period of time. That's not happening right now, right? I mean, changes are happening every day, every week. Something is new every single day in this new digital era. So when I came back from that coverage, I felt a little, you know, I felt a lot of stress, but I felt an experience that I never felt before. And it was very positive for me, because I learned that with using this cell phone, you can bring a full TV story that could be broadcast. So, but how I felt that day, well, I have this little picture that I want to show to you. I felt this way when I get back home. I was like so excited, and I was like, Daddy, I got a job. He was like, finally, doing what? And I was like, I don't know. Because the new journalists here need to do pretty much everything, right? Before, we used to have a cameraman, and we used to have, you know, a big satellite truck, and we used to have a lot of people helping, even a makeup person if you work in television and you were the star. But now things have changed a lot. Now it's a lot in our plate. We have to know how to use our cell phones. We need to know how to edit videos in our cell phone. We need to know how to use social media. We need to know how to create a copy, a written text for social media, which is different than writing a full article for the website. So it's just too many things going on at the same time, and you need to know all of them. So the question is it possible? Well, I guess it is. And it's not just possible, but you actually can have fun doing it. How we do it? Well, and first of all, why is this so important? Well, because this is the era we are in. So sometimes we want to just to stay the way we were, right? And that's not, in reality, that doesn't work anymore. I mean, things are moving so fast, and we have to do it at the same time, because if not, we're just gonna get stuck in the past. And you know, as simple as that, you can't do that. So it is important, because now as journalists, we can tell stories in real time faster than ever before. And I just want to mention this quick example of an earthquake that happened a little more than 2 years ago in Haiti. And it was in a place called Les Cayes. It was a very remote place. And you know, Haiti doesn't have much of the attention of the international community. But when this earthquake happened, we immediately, you know, call our reporters and ask them for information. And we want, you know, reactions and pictures and all that. And I start looking in all the agencies' websites to see if they have something, and they didn't have anything. It was none. And then the VOA reporters were in the capital, in Port-au-Prince, and they were like, you know what? This place, this area where the earthquake hit, it's far. So it's gonna take us like about 3-4 hours to get there, because you know the roads are not good right now, in good shape right now. So it's gonna take us longer. So I was, you know, constantly checking, and I couldn't see anything. We knew it was an earthquake in Haiti. But we didn't have any more information. We didn't have nothing. So when I went to Twitter, in this case, I realized that a lot of people were sending content, photos, videos, sharing information. Of course, you need to do a process of fact checking, and so is going to talk about this in a little bit. But then as soon as you confirm that this is real content, we start using it. And immediately, like, you know, about maybe 30 minutes after the earthquake happened, you could see a lot of content in Instagram from people, from locals who were sharing this content in their social media accounts. So we were able to produce content to start telling the people in around the world that this was happening and this was the situation, thanks to that information that came in real time using social media. So that's why one little element that why this is so important. But so what do we need then? How do we do that? Well, there are some little tools that can help us to, put our hands in this called social media, digital platforms, this new era. And I want you to keep this in mind, and I'm sure you all know this, but I want to move on to one of them that are very important. But right now we have some little tools that we call engagement, hashtags, handles, links, shares, likes, photos, videos, comments, reactions. And I know you all know this, and I'm pretty sure you know how to use it. But as journalists, there is a catch, and I want to mention that. In this new era, companies, and I'm talking about big news media companies, are losing trust to the audience. So audience in general have less trust in big companies. CNN, ABC, Fox, even VOA. So this is a natural process because people trust in people. And that's why I have this number here. According to this study made by Gallup and the Knight Foundation, 86%, at least here in the United States, don't really trust in big organizations. So who do they trust? Well, think about COVID. A couple of years ago, when a lot of doctors, big media organizations started to interview doctors and asking for answers. Okay, how can I avoid having COVID? What can I do to prevent COVID getting into my family and all that? So they gave us, with all their expertise, some information, some key information that we could follow to prevent that. But if your neighbor, if a friend, if a family member will go to you and tell you, you know what, just drink some lemonade with a lot of salt and put some whatever, and that's gonna, do a lot good for you, you will do that because you trust people a lot more than what you do to experts or media organizations in general. So keeping that in mind, I want to show you a real example of what I'm trying to tell you. We have this correspondent in the White House. His name is Jorge. So Jorge is the Spanish correspondent in the White House, and he secured a very important interview. This interview was with Juan Gonzalez, which is one of the advisors, security advisors for Joe Biden, for the president of the United States. So he secured this interview and went and did the interview. And after doing the interview, the social media team from Voice of America in Spanish, the social media team caught a little video from that interview and posted in their official social media account in Twitter. So this is the official tweet posted in the official Voz de America, which is the Spanish for Voice of America social media account. So after about 25 minutes, this post got 1,200 views. So remember, this is the organization posting something that his reporter did for from the White House. Same video with a little difference in the copy, in the text posted, was published by the reporter in his own personal account. 25 minutes after, it got 25,400 views. This is not the official Voice of America account. This is his personal account. Back to the official account, 1,200, 25 minutes after. Same thing, 25,400. Why? Well, I was mentioned that, you know, people trust more in persons than in big organizations, but it's not just that. I want to mention this element here, engagement. So what that reporter did, because, you know, I was trying to figure out why he would get a lot more views than the official account of Voice of America. Well, I talked to Jorge and I was like, and I started, you know, checking his Twitter account, and I realized that 4 days before, 3 days before the interview, when he was confirmed that he will get that interview, he started posting something in his own account. He was like, hey guys, I'm gonna interview this, you know, high profile person. And we're gonna talk about Venezuela and the situation there. So do you have any question? Let me know. So what was he doing there? He was engaging in a very direct way with his users, with his followers, something that media organizations, you know, it's hard for us to do. After that, like during the day of the interview, he was walking, you know, he was walking to the White House, and then he started recording a video. And he was like, hey guys, remember I told you we're gonna have a big interview today? And remember I asked for questions, you know, I got some of them. That was very good question. I'm gonna include it in my interview. And remember, the interview is gonna be at 2 p.m. So please let me know what you think. And I'm gonna post the interview right after. Thank you guys. And you know, you can see the White House behind him, you can see him. So he is creating more engagement. This is something that journalists need to do in this new era. We need to know our audience. He knew, because after I talked to him, I understood why he got 25,000 views and the official account of Voice of America just, you know, 1,000. So he knew his audience. He knew that he has a lot of Venezuelans and Nicaraguans followers in his Twitter account. That's why he did it in Twitter. He didn't do it in Instagram because he doesn't have many Venezuelan followers in that account, but he do have many Venezuelans following him in Twitter. So that's why he did it in Twitter. So he started a process of engaging with all his followers. So if I am a follower and I see this journalist from the White House asking me to provide some feedback, to provide some questions, I will definitely follow this guy. You know, he's taking me into the process of the news of the day. This is something we didn't do before, you know, and could be a little frightening for if you are just trying, but let me tell you, it's fun. And then you're gonna win a lot of trust from your audience, from your followers. And at the end of the day, what do we want? We want our message to be, you know, everywhere. We wanna really share our messages to the, you know, a big majority of people. So that's what you are doing when you are engaging with audience. And that's a process that we need to start doing. And of course, we can use different accounts for different reasons. And I just want to show you something else that you know you need to take into consideration, and it's how to use all the different social media for different reasons. Before, we used to recycle content, you know, right? Remember, we produce content for television and then we just grab a piece of that and then we just, you know, send it to the, you know, to that little guy who is doing social media. Now, social media has gotten very important and you need to create content, organic content, native content for those platforms, and you need to know how that works. So for instance, before it was very crazy to think that you will have, you know, a vertical video to be broadcasted in a, you know, important news organization. Vertical was wrong. You need to, you know, shoot your video in a horizontal way because 16:9 or landscape was, you know, was the thing. That's what you need to do. That's the way we do it. Not anymore. Now we do it, of course, horizontal still, but now vertical is what Instagram needs, and vertical is what shorts from YouTube needs. So you need to create content in Vericle, but it's not just that. How you create that content? Well, now, like samples you are seeing here, you can have some text with video, and this is called a different format. You can have some quizzes and make people to participate. You can have photos and text and explain a full story instead of having a 800 words web article. You can just have 5 video slides, like 5 photo slides, I'm sorry, 5 photos with information, with text, and explain the same story in that way. So you can have many infinite different formats that we didn't have before. I remember when I was in school, and you probably remember the pyramid, this pyramid that we need to, write for that was the only format. Now you have many formats, and what you need to do is experiment, because there is no one specific idea or strategy that is going to work for you, and that's something we have been proving. Some strategies that work for Spanish doesn't work for the Creole service, and some strategies that work for the Creole service doesn't work for English. So we need to know our audience, as Zoe was mentioning, and we need to prepare different strategies, and we need to be willing to experiment. So I know you all are using social media. Now, how can you apply all these ideas in your job as journalists to reach a lot more people than before? So that's what I have for now, and I'm gonna go back to Zoe for something else on. Now we're gonna be talking about fact checking, right? So is that right?
I was gonna, I had some suggestions on easy posts that are easy to, and I think it's complementary to what you were presenting, because not everything needs to be extremely produced. There are very simple ways sometimes of creating engagement. So I'll refer to that if I figure out how to share my screen. Okay, just bear with me. Oh, okay. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. By the way, this was a great presentation, Hazel. And one of the things that we were both talking about is that you really need to know your audience. And you need to have a sense of what kind of journalism you want to do. An investigative journalist might have a different approach to what they will do with their Twitter feed or how they will use it. Somebody who is doing current affairs and is an on-air personality will use it differently, but you need to have a sense of where you're going with it. I just wanted, another favorite thing I have in life is looking at statistics, because statistics give you a sense of where the audience is, what they're looking at. And even though Twitter is sort of on the lower part of the scheme in terms of engagement, I think for journalists, it's a very, very important tool. It's a very important tool. And I know Twitter now is going through some reckoning and some changes. A lot of people are unhappy with it, but it's a very important tool for journalists in order to connect with other journalists, build their own environment of followers, and have their own personal audience. Also, it's a place where you can observe conversations, look what's happening at different parts of the world, and access people. I use it often to find guests for the show. Every week, Twitter and LinkedIn are the basic things that I use to find guests that I do not know personally. Here again, I'm going back to Twitter. We interviewed last week the Minister of Basic Education of Sierra Leone. He's great to interview, very inspiring person. And I composed this tweet. I have part of the interview in the tweet on the link. And I composed it in such a way because I knew he has a new book out called Radical Inclusion. I knew he would retweet it. and I knew he had a following. So intentionality helps, especially if you have high-level guests. Do not, or guests that have a huge following. There are some people that have a huge following, and you can sort of piggyback on their followers and the level of engagement your guests have, or the people you cover in articles or in reports. So, the hashtags I have, Flatiron Books was the publisher. His book was carried by Melinda Gates' Moment of Lift books. She has a list of books that are inspiring. So I used all those hashtags. And now this is from my personal account, so not from a VOA account. And the impressions are, this is organic again. And I'm talking about people that are starting to build their Twitter feed and are starting to build an audience around them. You don't need to go big, but you need to be intentional in what you're doing and how you're doing it. Again, some statistics. I was surprised to see that in Nigeria, they spent 4 hours and 20 minutes on social media. I couldn't believe it, actually. And then some more statistics. I love statistics because I feel they give you a sense of what's going on. In the US, this is about the US, it's impressive to see that right now the top social media platforms have video, short form video, and YouTube has longer form video. And Twitter comes number 3. Twitter comes number 3 because it is a very important platform for people to engage. Let's move on. Oh, this is my natural habitat. This is a shot of me in the studio. While we are producing the show. I just want to say that the social media landscape is changing rapidly. And social media gives you an opportunity to bring people in your creative process as an individual and share things that contribute to the job you do. I will go to some easy ways of creating engagement. We are shooting, this is like behind the scenes. We went and shot a report at Howard University. That is not a photograph taken by an amazing photographer. It sort of documents something that has happened. It's very easy to share on social media. Also, you need to sort of, as a journalist, know if you are a visual learner, if you're a visual person, and use visuals. That's the thing with social media, visuals are very important. So try to include photos. They do not need to be works of art, but they need to document what's happening now. Another thing that I wanted to share with you is we often do, right now, the algorithm on Facebook favors Facebook stories. So a lot of times before the show, we will take a shot of the guests and write little text, and that is very simple to do, and create a Facebook story. And it's usually done the day before the show. You can do that to promote stuff you're doing. You're writing an article. You can say article coming out tomorrow about so-and-so. Or you can promote, I'm talking to this guest about a topic. So these are very easy in some ways and low-tech ways to create engagement. What else do I have? Also, the Africa division is continuing to use Facebook Live to create, in some ways, I would call them shows. So we have shows, this particular one was about Press Freedom Day. They created a little poster and shared it. And that thing goes a long way because you don't only get people the day of the show, you get people looking for it afterwards, because you can reshare the feed on Facebook Live on different platforms. Another one that I think Hazel talked about is polls. very easy to do on Facebook, and they can be very effective. A lot of times, if we have a show like this, we were discussing the political situation in Ethiopia, I will use the poll and put it in the show script. I'll say, this is not a scientific poll, but we asked our audience, do you think the peace talks will be successful? And 70 said this, 30 said no. And then we go to our experts that put things in perspective. So there's a cross-pollination between the different media. Hazel, do you want to say something, or do you want me to continue with this section?
I don't know if we have any question, Paul, or if before moving on to a different topic, I don't know if anyone has a question on what we just discussed.
Yeah, so I think a lot of conversations that we've been having has been, can we stop sharing for a while?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Don't worry, I'll do it from here. So a lot of a comment that a question that came in has been, how do you decide which social media approach is best for you to deploy as a journalist? For instance, I think you've mentioned a number of options, and the fact that journalists are expected to still develop the stories and work together whilst to painstakingly make efforts towards engaging the audience now. So how do you quickly decide which one best serves your audience?
Well, first of all, you see what country you're in and where your audience is on what platforms. I'm talking generally about platforms that are everywhere. And it depends what work you do. For example, recently there was a leak of the Pentagon Papers by a young man that worked at the Pentagon. The journalist found him because they were in chat rooms on Discord that was for people, I think, that were gamers. And they were just observing. They were looking at conversations, seeing what people are doing. Now, if this is the kind of job you do, it's important to be able to have access to chat rooms and to do that. And that's not something you publicize unless your article comes out and you break the story. But also, you need to see what platforms are popular for journalists in your country, because the thing, for example, with Twitter, you don't only want to build connections with your audience, but also with other people you work with other journalists. I mean, where I work, there's a lot of cross-pollination. People give me leads for stories, I give them leads, we share a lot of stuff. So you want to create a circle of people that will be your people, and you can share experiences, that you have people to ask questions if you're stuck. So it's not just, okay, we are creating we're on Twitter because we want to broadcast something. We want to connect on different levels with people. Also, like Hazel said, in different war zones, people will go to social media. We've seen this with the Ukraine. You see stuff being posted there before it reaches any of the news stations.
Yeah, I want to add that, I mean, you need to know, and this is so important, you need to know your audience, and you need to know what works where. Like for, the Creole service here in Voice of America, Twitter is not very popular in their country, and we can see the numbers. I mean, not many people visit Twitter. So they are focusing in Facebook because that's the social media, the most important social media for them, and YouTube. And sometimes it's not just about a country, sometimes it's about a topic. Like when the Spanish service published something about the president of El Salvador, which is very popular now, Nayib Bukele. So when they publish a video related to Nayib Bukele, it does so well in YouTube. You have no idea. It gets a lot of attention in YouTube. but it doesn't do that well in Facebook, and it doesn't do that well in Twitter. But when they publish something about Venezuela, a video about the president Nicolas Maduro or something like that, it does so well in Facebook. It doesn't do that well in YouTube. So it is an analysis, and it is a constant analysis. You cannot just, you know, think they, oh, you already know how it works and you're gonna just start having this behavior in social media from now on. No, this is something, and we have tools now where we can read what's working where, so we can start testing, experimenting, and of course trying to know your audience, so you can, you know, as Sol mentioned, intentionally target this this group of people.
Also, it has to do on a personal level. Like, I am a visual person. I can take a photo of anything, anytime. It's easy for me. So you need to know yourself on that level. There are other people that can write anything about anything, and they can write very short and snappy little tweets. And there are people that can do both. So see what you are and use your strengths to your advantage. And the truth is, the way the social media landscape is, we need to be on a lot of platforms. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. Like, a lot of times I use Twitter for research. I use Twitter to find guests. I use it to promote stuff we do on the show, interviews I do. I will use Facebook or Instagram for different things. And the final product, I always try to post it on LinkedIn. Because let's not forget that LinkedIn is a big thing, that in some ways it's your professional profile to the world. So the successful stuff, the end product, should go in LinkedIn. So you use things for different things, and it has to do with your market. Like if you're doing fashion, or if you're doing influencer stuff, you need to be on Instagram, among other things, or TikTok.
You're absolutely right. And I think there seems to be, probably that is a topic for discussion another day, how journalists can actually make use of LinkedIn beyond job seeking. I think many journalists only look at the jobs, click the jobs icon on the LinkedIn. But I agree with you, it's like a portfolio, what you've been doing over the years. And somebody like me has been struggling with that. I have over 8,000 connections on LinkedIn, and I sparingly engage and share my stuff over there. And that's actually the first place that employers would actually check you out if you're trying to see.
Now, yes.
So I think that's a tip for everybody. If you have something that you are working on, you always put the final product on LinkedIn. You want to say something, Zoe?
I did. Oh, I was just going to say, I use LinkedIn to find guests for the show.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do. There's a question from Nobile. Nobile would like to know if it's encouraged to ask guests to repost, as some may have big followings but are not active social media users. Beyond the issue of the number of social media followers that your guest has, what is your advice on actually asking them to retweet? Because I believe if it's a story that they're not comfortable with, they may not want to share that. And if journalists are now interested in being on the good side of their guests or of people that they are mentioning in their story, would that not introduce a level of bias in trying to satisfy and making individuals look good in stories? What are your thoughts on this?
I ask people to retweet. I ask. I don't, tell them you should do it. And a lot of times there was a time that we had I would use specific hashtags, and I would say, well, this is the tweet, we have the interview here. It would be great if you want to share it in your social media platforms. Most often people do. Like 99% they do, unless they're portrayed in a negative light. Nobody will share something like that. But I am usually in the environment I work with, right? Because we're talking about the US environment. You might be in a different country. Well, that's totally inappropriate, even dangerous. So you need to know where you are. I actively ask them, like after after this seminar, that's what I'm gonna do with the show we aired yesterday.
And I agree. I just want to mention that I mean, there is nothing wrong with asking our audience to retweet your content, knowing that your content is complete, it has balance, it has all the information that, you know, a full content should have. But the other way around is where you need to be a little more careful. Retweeting, you know, you as a journalist or as a, you know, official social media account from any organization, retweeting something specific from an expert or something from a politician, there is where you need to be a little bit more, you know, careful, because you don't want to portray yourself, as so was mentioned, as anyone's supporter. You don't want to support any idea, any thought that might give the impression, you know, the wrong impression to your followers. So asking them to retweet your content that you know it's good content, it's balanced, you know, it's there for the public, shouldn't be a problem.
Yes, thank you very much. Before we go to the concluding part of your presentation, I also want to share a particular tip, something I saw on I've been seeing on social media recently, which is actually journalists using social media to actually bring attention to their story. When an investigative story is published, I saw one yesterday done by a journalist for the New York Times, unraveling an investigation, making an investigative report. So journalists now are able to put together a thread that highlights what the story is all about. And by the time you are done with that thread, you would actually be interested in actually reading that story, and which actually connects to something that you said, which is probably background, putting background into context, sharing your journalism journey with your audience. And in a number of cases, if you don't like the behind the scene footage that you mentioned, letting people to anticipate it. And another thing you can do is, let's say you've done a story and there are a couple of pictures that you took on the trip while working on that story that did not make it to the final copy. It doesn't mean you can actually use it on your social media feed to actually draw attention to that particular story. I strongly believe that the space is largely like Zoe Lively said, you have to test the waters and figure out what works best in your audience, and as much as possible adjust to it to better serve it. It's not it doesn't go well. It is no, I believe it should be no longer acceptable for a journalist to just publish a story and leave the media house to do the promotion. Like you rightly showed us in that video, in which the individual journalist promotion of that story on Twitter actually had more views than when the media house actually did it. So thank you, Dad, for sharing that insight. I think we have a question. Grace agrees with me. Grace said, threading a story is powerful. It's like reading a novel. It feeds that illusion of being thrown into another world, watching it while reading. But a caveat that I think you should not just reveal everything to the extent that your audience will not have any reason to go to the main story itself. And if it's a platform that is password gated, then you've lost that revenue. I think it's just to build that anticipation and encourage them to actually take it. I think you've had your breath. Oh, a question is coming up again. Oh, okay. How about media literacy? Some people trust the celebrities than journalists. How should they learn? I think you're talking about celebrities are more popular on social media and they tend to have more followings than journalists. Do you have any thoughts on this? I'll start with Zoe and Gazelle, then we take it to the last part of the session. Celebrities versus journalism, engagement, and trust index on social media.
Well, they're different realities. I mean, there are celebrities that are interested in issues that are political. Angelina Jolie has spearheaded a lot of causes and has brought in the forefront and uses the fact that she's a celebrity to bring issues in the forefront. I believe in the past he has done stuff in the DRC and a lot of other work. So that is good. Mia Farrow does the same thing. They have a lot of causes they're spearheading. So that is great because we want issues of our time and to be in the forefront. And we do live at least in a culture that's influencer stricken, and people that are famous just have more pull. You need to be aware how you use that if you're a journalist, and to keep a balance. But like Giselle said, you need to keep a balance in a lot of things you do with social media. And that balance a lot of times is defined in what country you are practicing journalism. There are things that are unacceptable in the States that are acceptable in Greece, where I come from, and vice versa. So you need to be culturally aware, and the choices you make should not compromise the work you do. Because if you're partnering with a famous person, you're doing it to bring in the forefront an issue you're working on that's important and that the lives of other people depend on a better understanding of this issue.
Yes, so let's take that concluded part. And who is taking the floor?
Yeah,
I think we had some discussions on AI that we didn't get to.
Oh, we're not there yet, but I just want to add to what Sol was mentioning. And, you know, YouTubers and influencers and all of these people are there to stay. You know, that's another reality. They're going to be around. And something I want you to keep in mind is, according to this very scary investigation that Gallup did, 90% of the people using social media are not looking news, you know, are not looking for any news information. What they want, and think about yourself, what do you want when you go into Instagram? What do you want when you go into YouTube? Most of the time, I mean, myself, if I go to YouTube, it's because I want to learn how to do something, or I want a recipe about any specific food. That's what I use YouTube for as a personal, you know, in my personal time. What do I go to Instagram for? Because I want to laugh, because I want to entertain myself. So I want to see what crazy people is doing, you know, and they're jumping and they're dancing and they're doing stupid things that keep me laughing. So that's why I go to those social media accounts. So people is not looking for news information, and that's a sad reality. So when these YouTubers and these influencers do something and gather millions of views, I'm jealous, you know, because we put a lot of effort in a very important issue, and you know, in any specific stuff, and we didn't get those millions that this person got. So my job as a journalist is keeping my best practices, keeping my high standards, all my journalistic standards. What can I grab from this guy who's just doing, you know, entertainment and gathering millions of views? What can I get from this person and apply to my reporting? So maybe this guy, you know, I believe that one reason why they're so popular is because they're very natural. They are very natural when they're delivering their message. So when people see them, they don't see a journalist who is trying to lecture them. And that's what they see when they see us. If you are, you know, with your microphone, all you know, stuff like this, and start giving a news information, people will be like, news, I gotta go to entertainment. When you see something more dynamic, more interesting, more interactive, you know, they might stay. So use what they're doing just to grab ideas, keeping, you know, your high standards, keeping all your journalistic best practices, but try to grab what it works for them and apply it to your daily job, and you'll see good results.
I agree with Hazel because it's the nice thing with social media, it's easy to experiment. And the nice thing with that is that it's very easy to see the result. Something works, something doesn't. You have engagement or you don't. And all that stuff is easy. So I think it's, you need to know who you are as a person. You need to know what kind of audience you would possibly like to build. What is the practice you do? What kind of journalism do you do? And move in that direction. And the truth is, right now, if you do a Google search of something you want to be when you grow up, you'll find 1,000 examples, from very popular ones to less popular. So we live at a time that we have a lot of examples. And that's what I was thinking, like a couple of decades ago, a kid couldn't go on Google and see things. Like if they wanted to do something, there was no visual information about it. Now we can. So try to figure out which way you want to go. Don't be afraid to experiment. That's the nice thing about social media. You can try things out. And if they work, they work. And if they don't work, they don't work. But even if they don't work, you have gained some important knowledge about what works for you, what works for your audience, and how you can do things better next time. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we have a question that says, when a reporter has more views from the story than the media platform, how does that aggregate for the media platform in terms of engagement with the story? And a second question regarding what about consistency? I know it matters, but I struggle because I work on longer projects and features. So I don't feel I have enough content to post every week. What will you suggest?
You want to go first, Sol, or you want me to jump in?
Sure, jump in.
Okay, first of all, about the journalists having more views than an official account, that's another reality that we need to face. You know, that's sometimes you just need to tell yourself that's the way it is. So if this is the way it is, how can I take advantage of it? How can I, somehow get a little bit of the cake? So what we do is we promote our own journalists now in social media. We promote them. So they promote VOA as well. They promote our official accounts. So when they do something, they add a tag for VOA. They add, the handle of VOA accounts. So that way we are helping each other. They are there because VOA is putting there, and because, VOA is a big company. They will pay for their travels and their coverages, and will be a backup to be represented in the White House and all that. So that's something they need to understand. So they are there because there is a company behind them. But at the same time, the company can benefit from the influence that they as journalists have in the social media accounts. So this is a conversation, an ongoing conversation that you need to have, with your companies and vice versa, and find the common ground on how to take the best advantage of both, both worlds. And what was the other question? There were two.
Oh, if you're doing features, what do you post? If you're working on longer features, how do you do social media postings?
Go ahead, Sol.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with that is that you need to break down your day. You wake up, you sit in front of the computer, you transcribe something, for example. Take a picture of it. Transcribing interview for my feature on kids that live up the mountain. If you go to interview a kid up the mountain, take a picture. It does not need to be a work of art. Or so in some ways, think visually how you can document the steps you take. Or you can have, you can stare at the window and go, oh my God, I don't know what's my next step now. Take a picture staring out the window and say, I'm stuck. I was doing this, but I don't know where it's going now. And people empathize with that because we all get stuck. we all go through phases that you thought you had a good interview, and then you're writing it and go, I'm not sure about this. So put people in your world as much as you can. And you can either do it by including a photo. As I said, I'm a visual person, so I always think in terms of photos, or write a tweet and say, well, today I'm working on this. It's not going well, or it is going really well. I'm excited to be writing about this topic.
Yeah, behind the scenes, people love behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I think Raymond is also mentioned on it first. How can a Jurassic media outlet start being more social media savvy? Does it start with teaching how to use the phone? I think the person is talking about very conventional media organizations making the switch. Where do they start from? I think the simple answer is just start. You have to start from somewhere. You don't have to jump to the most complex tool, the platform on the first day. Or do you have any thoughts on getting started for a media organization that is a Jurassic Park media outlet? So what is your quick suggestion for this media organization?
Hiring the right people to do it, staffing it, because I mean, a lot of positions that we have great ideas, no staff to execute them. And also, again, see the market you're in, see what other media organizations are on, what they're doing, and start from your most prominent show that you know is going to attract people, and that people will look at it. For example, one of the things that a lot of shows do is they cut down, for example, the interviews they do, and they post them on YouTube. I find myself going to YouTube to actually see interviews like that and watch what people have to say. Amampura Company does that. And I go to YouTube to see, okay, what did they talk about? What did they say about here? So if there is a media outlet that has prominent shows, and they should use it to their advantage once they start, but they need to build a strategy around how do we do this? How do we promote ourselves and the content we do? It's not just, it needs to be a multi-pronged approach, and it needs to be part of a team that thinks into the future, not just, oh, let's get some, likes now. You need to have a strategy that extends into the future about the media presence of the company.
I hope those advices are coming quite handy. Probably the last question I would like us to take is okay, we have 2 more questions. Probably we'll come back to the AI. I'm not sure we'd have time for the AI session, unfortunately, but probably we'll say 1 or 2 things.
We can move on whenever you tell us. We're ready to move on.
Okay, please, let's move on. Then we'll take the last part of questions in one scope. Please go ahead.
Okay. So you want to talk about fact checking, or you want me to go first with the AI?
Go first, because I have problems.
No
technical
problem.
issues. Okay.
Let me share my screen one more time. Okay, so I hope you guys can see my screen. And I'm gonna be short and sweet with this. And I want to start with something fun that you guys probably remember. And if not, I'm here to show it to you. So let me go slideshow here. Perfect. So you guys remember this picture? And if you didn't see it, well, it was fun to watch. Many people thought that this was real. And then it is not. If you still think that it's real, it's not. And then we, hold on. And then we watch, one more. Hold on, this one here. This was another fun picture to watch. I don't know if you thought that was real. There were many, by the way, similar to this one, but it is not real. How do they do that? Using something that is very new for us, right? Artificial intelligence. And on that, I have a very short video that I wanna play for you guys, just to introduce what artificial intelligence is about. So hopefully you guys are able to listen to this, and let me know if you're not listening.
The sound is not coming out. Gazelle, the sound is not coming out.
Sorry, there's no audio?
No audio.
Okay, well,
Actually, if you look at the video you are playing, the audio is muted on that video.
no, it was on, but it still looks like you guys can hear. Anyway, I don't want to waste much of the time that we still have on this, but I just want to, give you a short introduction about this new world that we are in, which is called artificial intelligence. So there is a lot of discussion, and my first opinion on this is that there is a lot of discussion on artificial intelligence and how to apply it in the journalism work that we do. And this discussion has to continue. We have to discuss how can we take advantage of artificial intelligence, how to use it properly, how to be ethical correct on this. And this is something you have to, continuously talk to in your office, with your colleagues, with your company, because we are facing something new that we still don't know how to really incorporate it in a way that is ethical, in a way that is correct, in a way that we are not, just lying to our audiences. Why lying? Because with artificial intelligence, you really have the risk of lying to your people. You can create an article, and that's exactly what I want to show you now. With artificial intelligence, you can do a lot of things that you couldn't do before, like creating a full article. And I want to show you, I got it here. Yeah. Okay. So like the one I was showing before is ChatGPT, and some outlets out there are using it to create a full article. And how do you do it? Well, you just tell ChatGPT, you know what, write me an article about the US debt ceiling. And ChatGPT will create an article, a full article for you, with a title, with an introduction, with all the body information, and it's ready to publish, pretty much, right? But it would be a huge mistake if you just copy and paste and then throw it out there for the world to read it. So you need to use it right now in this moment. I don't know where this gonna get us later on. At this point, we are just starting to use this tool, and it's fine if you want to use it. Because as we said before, things are changing quickly, and we need to know how to this new era we can how we can use it in our favor. So ChatGPT is a great tool. Artificial intelligence are great tools. It can do what it can do. How can we use it right now in a way that we're not gonna run any risk? Well, right now, for example, you can create interesting headlines for your articles. How do we do that? Well, let's see. I want to show you. I got here some ways that, for instance, I have ChatGPT here. So let's say I want to ask ChatGPT to summarize some information. So I can ask ChatGPT, for instance, summarize the keys to understand the US debt ceiling impasse. So I don't have time, as a journalist, to read the whole information, and my editor just told me that I have to write an update on the situation. So I need context. I need some information that probably I don't have time to just dig in and read the whole thing right now. So I can ask, artificial intelligence to summarize the latest on the topic. So I can write something like that, and then here we go. Starts giving me some information that it might be important for me to know as context. Keep in mind, ChatGPT could create false information. All this artificial intelligence could create false information. So if you have to be reluctant to believe everything that is there. So if you see something that doesn't make any sense, you have to double check it. But it can help you, it can help you giving you some summarize of the information. So that way you don't need to go and get well informed in just 2 minutes. What else can ChatGPT do? Okay, what about if I tell ChatGPT, you know what? I am right now writing something about the US debt ceiling. What about if you give me some keywords that in this digital world will be very useful for people to find my article? So this is ChatGPT, but there are many more. What about if I go to BART? BART is the artificial intelligence search engine from Google. So I can go to BART, this is my account in BART, and I can specifically ask for some keywords. Show me the best keywords that need to be included in my article about the US debt ceiling impasse, because what I want is search engines to find my article. So I need to include some keywords, but you know what? I thought about some, but I don't know, I probably need more. So I can ask artificial intelligence to provide me with some keywords. So I put my question there and boom, here we go. Now I have a bunch of keywords. I might not use all of them, but I have an idea. Maybe I didn't thought about default. Maybe I didn't thought about uncertainty. What it's giving me here are keywords that people are looking right now in real time about this topic. So you can also, and as I said, you can also ask ChatGPT or any other artificial intelligence search engine to write you a full article. What about if I do this? What could be a very impacting title? No, this is something we did already, but oh yeah, like let's say a title. What could be a very impacting title for an article on the US debt ceiling impasse? Let's see, I'm thinking about titles right now. I don't know if the title that I have will create this impact that I'm looking for. So, I want some fresh ideas. So ChatGPT will give me an answer. And here we have one title that I might use, which is America's Fiscal Cliffhanger, the looming storm of the US debt ceiling impasse. You can, grab some words from here and create your own title. So it's giving me ideas. Right now, that's the way we suggest to use this artificial intelligence to create, not to create full content, but as a tool for many services that they can provide. What about if I want, an artificial intelligence engine to proofread my articles? Well, I can use WordVice or I can use many others. So I can just paste my text here and they will proofread my text and will give me some suggestions and will give me some other ideas, different words that might be more impactful than the one I have. So to create a full new content, that's completely out of the picture right now. We shouldn't do that. But we can use these tools right now to help us to create our own original content. So we have to keep in mind, let me go back to this. We have to keep in mind the potential uses that we can get right now at this point. As I said, we are in the very beginning of this big iceberg. So we have to keep in mind some some points specifically that we can, need to know that the lack of contextual understanding from these machines, it could be bias, is lack of accountability and ability to verify sources. That all of this is something we need to be doing. It's lack of human touch. I mean, ChatGPT will not understand a human story when you are in a very dramatic size. You need to keep all those elements as a journalist that you are, but it can help you like summarizing long reports. It can help you, creating meetings for you. It can help you researching some information for the piece you are working on. So it can help you with contacts, with dates, with other specific applications, do corrections. It can organize a reporting that you have. But remember right now, as I said, at this point, and I don't know where is this gonna get, we shouldn't use any of the artificial intelligence to create a full content and just publish it somewhere there. And I'm gonna cut it here.
I would like to add, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to add, I would like to share a couple of videos I would like our audience to see. We did a show about artificial intelligence and news, and let me try to share my screen. Just a second. Okay, so this, look at this video. Can you hear it? Can you hear audio? I just want to say before that, there was a coup in Burkina Faso in January. This video that you're going to see appeared on social media. We don't know where it came from, but listen to it.
We're Americans from Africa. And
can you hear it?
Yes.
We appeal to the solidarity of the African people and the people of Burkina Faso to effectively support the authority of the transition. We must support the patriotic movement for safeguard and restoration and President Ibrahim Traore, who imposes respect for his sovereignty. Let us all remain mobilized behind the Burkina people in this common struggle. Homeland or death, we shall overcome. Hello to the African people.
So right now, people that do news need to be vigilant when they see AI can do things that look amazing. And now look at this. We were playing around it with my colleagues, and we found this lady, and we created something.
Hello, Haight Adams. Glad to be on this episode of Straight Talk Africa.
Wait, there's a little bit more that she says that I guess got cut out. And what I do, and I think we need to keep in mind, if you're looking to see, okay, who made this? Is this authentic? It's good to do a reverse image search. What that does, it gives you, it shows you where this image has appeared. So then you realize that this is not real. It's something that has been manipulated. It appeared in a lot of other things. And actually, I have to say that I use a reverse image search a lot to make sure that I screen things. Often, because of my position as the producer, on WhatsApp, I get a ton of images of people that say, oh, they killed that in that village on South Kivu province. I want you to air it. And I constantly, this is one of the methods I use to check if it's real. But AI now it's gonna make that very difficult, because for most people, seeing is believing. And right now with artificial intelligence, seeing is not believing. So I would like to wrap it up now. Like when you post a video, you need to be, you need to be aware of where the source came from, where the video was posted, who is in it, to verify the location. Often we might use Google Earth or Street View to make sure that indeed that location is real. Actually, last week, a Pentagon explosion appeared on news, and it was picked up by a station in India that said that there was an attack on the Pentagon. It was all over the news, and it was a fake image. And for people that live in Washington, I mean, you can tell this is not the Pentagon. That building is not the Pentagon. It's like an apartment building around here. But if you don't live in Washington, you don't know that. So you suspect, they say Pentagon has been attacked. It's major news. It's the top story. So we need to be vigilant, and we need to be very well versed in how we can spot fake news.
Yeah, you need to be skeptical all the time, especially, you know, when there are sensational headlines or claims that seems too good or to be bad to be true. So we have, as a journalist, take the time to investigate before sharing or accepting the information as true, because this is, Sol mentioned, a new reality that we have to face, and it's harder and harder for us to definitely, you know, be convinced about what's true and what's not. And you have to keep in mind that building trust, it's so hard, it's so difficult. And when you get it, when you already gain all that trust, just destroying it can take one tweet. So just be very skeptical of what you see out there.
Thank you.
Basically, if you're not sure about something, you shouldn't air it, you shouldn't post it, you should just stay away from it until you're absolutely sure.
That's absolutely correct. And I think we cannot overemphasize the need for journalists to always ensure that they are absolutely sure about what they are putting on. I remember a situation that happened in Nigeria's social media circle when the news was shared on Twitter about a letter that was drafted by the electoral organization, purportedly saying that it would disqualify one of the front line candidates. A major television station actually made that story a main report as a breaking news, only for it to have to walk it back and say no, it was misinformation. So it's really, really important for everybody to actually be factual. And even though these tools allow us to have access to information much earlier than we would have had them before, the work of a journalist is not replaced. Even though you are using social media for news hunting, in that kind of situation, as a media organization, even when you've seen something like that, because it's a major organization, you could actually put a call through to that media organization and call, is this true? Is this, you should be able to verify your news source and not just be swindled or misled by social media, artificial intelligence, or any of those tools. I strongly believe that the tenets of journalism will still continue to stand the test of time, irrespective of the tools that come in. The fact that we would always have to still fact check and ensure that we are well informing our audience will really, really go a long way. Unfortunately, we've really gone beyond the time allocated, and I just hopefully, just looking at it, I'm really sorry to our audience that still have some burning questions. Unfortunately, I have to say add no to all the questions. And our members on social media, Twitter has been, Facebook has actually been really quite engaging. We have some commendations from our Facebook streamers. Rebecca is saying great presentation, and it's thanking you. Maimuna is saying, is also thanking you for the presentations. And let me also, Alice is also saying that it's indeed important to know your audience and build on that. Great presentation, and thank you. Irene is also thanking you. Everybody, they like your presentation so much. Alfonso described it as a great session. So thank you very much. our resource persons for being with us today. I know a lot of people are asking about this video. Don't worry, we will endeavor to share the link to the video as soon as it's available. And for you to be able to access this content and several other content that are relevant to this conversation, I strongly encourage you to be part of our very vibrant Facebook community, where I'm going to share the video once this chop is ready and it's properly edited so that you can share it and also go through it again. So I encourage you to be part of our Facebook community, which is an highly engaging group for journalists. And I'm going to just drop the link for here. And so the link I just put takes you to the Facebook forum. I'm going to share the video when it becomes available. Here on Zoom, Cameroon from Cambodia is thanking you and saying good night. Okay, good night, Cameroon, for joining us. Raymond is also saying that you've overloaded him with the information. Gabriela is also thanking you for the interesting presentations. Jatin from New Delhi in India is also thanking you. And everybody is obviously, you can read the comment yourself. You are really, you've been really resourceful today. You've touched a lot of topics, and I'm definitely sure that you've also inspired a lot of conversations. Carla wants to know, are we allowed to share some pics of this presentation on our social media? Absolutely, you can do that. We encourage you to do that, and you can engage your audience with it, also educate them, and yeah, take it from there. I hope your journey for social media does not end today. I hope you continue. Nobody knows it all. Nobody knows what the next trending tool will be. Nobody knows what the most effective tool for you as a person, as a journalist, or as a media organization would be. But I believe this session has been able to put you on the right path and provided some insights and guidance on how to go. If you still need additional guidance, do not hesitate to reach out, and we'll provide as much information as possible. So I'll go back to our guest and say in 30 seconds, what is your last remark? What are your last remarks for our audience and those in attendance today? I'll start with you, Gazelle, then we'll finish with Zoe.
Sure. Well, I just want to invite you guys to experiment. I mean, this is the whole key of everything. We have to, put ourselves out there and experiment with social media. We have to engage. We have to know our audience. And as Paul mentioned, you have to start from somewhere, right? So go ahead, experiment. If it doesn't work, move on. Continue experimenting. No one has the only strategy that will work for all your social media needs. No one. So you are the only one who can, grab ideas from different places like this webinar and apply them and see if it works. And if it doesn't, keep experimenting. So thank you very much for having me. I gotta say that it's been a pleasure to be here. It's been fun. I've never been in a webinar with so many people from different countries. I've been in webinars for in a specific country and a specific group of audience. This is my first with so many people from different regions. So thank you very much for having me, and that's it.
Zoe?
Also, I want to, I loved the discussion. I really enjoyed answering your questions. I want to thank the International Center for Journalists for having us. And I agree with Hazel, you need to experiment. It's actually, and I know that for some journalists, when you're more of an introvert, you feel exposed because that's your story. It's your, it has to do with who you are. But on the other hand, it's nice to reach out, to create your own audience. That is very inspiring. And in some ways, a very fulfilling thing. Those will be your group of people. You can ask them a question. You can reach out when you need information about something. So see, you're creating your group of people that will follow you in your career path. And don't be afraid to play around with tools. The truth is, social media is making it easier and easier to produce content now. You just have to decide to go ahead with it. Anyway, it was a great discussion. Thank you again for having us.
Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you very much. We'll communicate when our next discussion would be. Like I said, please, if you've not clicked that link, you're not a member of that forum, please click that link and we'll get all the information and resources needed across to you. Thank you from me and from everybody at the International Center for Journalists, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye from me.
Bye, everyone.